My name is Ricky Pickens. I am a community violence, professional violence interventionist. Particularly, I work in the field of gangs. I'm also the associate pastor at Community Bible Church in the greater Pasadena area. My work has been on the front lines for the last 15 years, and what I mean by front line is working hardcore with gang members, working to restore peace in our community whenever there's an act of violence. I work to help and assist gang members to get out of the gang life. I assist formerly incarcerated individuals to reintegrate back into our society by providing resources or connecting them with resources that would help them towards a transformed life. And so that's been the bulk of my work for 15 years. I also work with youth and young adults to prevent them from joining the gang life by providing them with alternative programs that will hopefully catch their interest in not wanting to join a gang, but also see more value in life in terms of finding a career or a profession. And I do that by programs and curriculums and life skills and summer work jobs, by mentoring. And so there's a variety. There's no cookie cutter. There's no one size fits all for young people or adults. Each situation is unique. Each situation is custom for that individual. And so people tend to throw gangs and gang members in one lump sum and try to provide one program that's a one size fits all, but that's not the case. You have to really pay attention to folks' needs and wants and the root causes of why they joined the gang life or why they've chosen the path that they've chosen. And I found out over the years that some young people or adults don't choose the path, that circumstances will choose the path, or that the path will choose them sometimes based on environment. If they didn't have enough structure that would help them see past their local environment, most young people succumb to the peer pressures of their immediate area. And so, and we call that being gang impacted. And so when you're gang impacted, you either live in an environment where there's heavy gang influence or you have family members who are gang members or are associated within gangs, which the lifestyle or the circumstances that comes from that impacts a young person in a way where it either draws them to the gang even more or it makes them shy away from it. And so I've been in everything. I've had guns pulled on me. I've had knives put on me. I've been in situations where I was doing intervention work trying to intervene in a situation and violence broke out. I've been in garages, I've been in carports, I've been in cars, I've been anywhere where I can go where I can find a gang member and assist them from the lifestyle. And really the antidote for gangs is providing hope. When people get hope and they can see the light at the end of the tunnel, they're more drawn to the light. Most of the time folks remain in the lifestyle because they don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. In fact, most young people that are engaged in the lifestyle don't see themselves to make it to 25 years old. And so helping them to see past 25 is a big accomplishment. But once they get to 25, it's now what do we do now that you're past 25? And so that's been the bulk of my work for 15 years. And my hidden agenda at the end of the day is to introduce them to Jesus Christ and his transforming power. I have no other agenda other than to see folks win, to see young people get excited about their lives turning around, to see young people to recognize, or older people to recognize that there's a God and there's a higher power and that he still has the power to save and deliver and to help in any situation. And so when I can bring people to that type of understanding, the rest of it is downhill.
What's a lot of times the things that those who are gang impacted can't see that you see about themselves?
That's not their purpose. They can't seem to find purpose because they've been entrenched in the life for so long. I mean, if you grow up in a gang household and you've been embedded with this lifestyle from the time that you're born from the time that you can remember up until the time that you have some consciousness and awareness, you don't see anything else around you. TV becomes fictitious. It doesn't seem real because that's TV. You don't see it in your immediate area. And so what we try to do, and what I've done over the years, is just try to expose young people to outside of their immediate environment by field trips and college tours and just mentoring, and taking them and exposing them outside of their environment where they can see, hey, there is a better life. There is a different life. What I see on TV could be my current reality.
Can you tell about a situation where mentorship was maybe one of the things that really made a dramatic impact in someone's life?
Oh yeah, I was a mentor director for 7 years of a mentoring program. In fact, I'll give a plug for Youth of Promise Mentoring. And I've seen many incidents. I mean, there was one young man where his family immigrated here to the U.S. and they basically, no one have ever graduated from high school, nor have ever attended college. And this young man was in middle school, and he pretty much disengaged from school. His mother had got laid off from her job, and his father had in-between jobs in landscaping. And so we connected him with a mentor. His mentor began to expose him to something different and pretty much was very persistent about him going back to school and making a better life for himself and his family, because he had dropped out of school in 7th grade. And so by the time he was a 9th grader, we had finally got him to re-engage, to basically go back to school. And we realized that the general class setting was not the setting for him. So we encouraged him to go to a continuation school to reclaim his credits so that he can get on a path to graduation. Well, the credit reclamation was the best thing that happened for him because he began to see his credits spike back up. Once he seen that light, then he was determined to graduate from high school. And so here's a kid that had totally disengaged from middle school, got a chance to graduate in high school. And he was the first graduate in his family to graduate from high school. He's gone on to attend junior college, and he's got a great career ahead of him. He's working right now. He's starting his family, but more importantly, he's giving hope to his other family members and to his parents. And that was all. He gives a lot of credit to the mentoring program. He gives a lot of credit to his mentor.
Why do you have a voice?
I think it's because of my passion. It's I grew up gang impacted. I grew up in a home where gang members were around every single day. And I didn't develop the fear that most people have for gang members. I don't have that fear because I had relatives who were making a newspaper and making the news every single day, but they would come home and eat a bowl of cereal with us. They'd come home and play Nintendo with us. And so smoking gun on the table and things like that, but they were regular guys. And so it wasn't a fear for me to say, okay, well, this guy walks out of the door and the local person, our local clerk, is probably afraid of him because he just committed a very serious crime, where he comes home and they come home and it was nothing. I'd hear the stories, I'd see the news, but I didn't make the connection. So as I got older and I was able to make the connections and read past history of, hey, that was my cousin, that was my, and then I made the connections and it was like, okay, that's not the life that I want to live. And I had mentors along the way. That was another thing that really helped me because my mentors exposed me to different things. And so I just wanted to afford someone else that opportunity. I wanted to share how you can live in a community that's entrenched with gangs, but not be of that community. And so I lived it. I don't just talk about it from a book perspective. I don't just talk about it because it sounds great. I talk about it because I live it. I talk about it because it's a passion. I talk about it because I know that there's a bigger world and you don't have to be in your current situation if you choose to get out.
When you think about this community and people who seem like they ignore it or don't recognize that gang violence is an issue, what would you say to them?
To wake up. Pasadena, Altadena is actually really, that's their reality. I mean, Pasadena is a city of roses. It's the tournament of roses. It's the football game. So those things don't resonate with people who live in the affluent areas of Pasadena. They read about it, they hear about it, but as long as it doesn't touch their doors, it's not a problem. But it's still Pasadena. And so what I would tell those people is find a way to get involved, because the truth of the matter, their resources could go a very long way, and they can impact a young person who doesn't have the same skin tone that they have, possibly, or may even have the same skin tone, but don't have what's in common. And that intervention is actually more of a more powerful intervention than a family friend or a parent. Excuse me. So they actually have, by them engaging, really is the most powerful intervention, because it shows a commitment that they take the time out to come from their comfortable living quarters or their comfortable situation and say, I want to invest in someone else who's not as privileged as I am. And a person recognizes that and see that from a genuine standpoint, that creates the turn in them.
These people that we're talking about, I mean, there's probably the fear that you were talking about that you don't feel because you had a different context. What would you say to those fears that they probably have about talking and being in relationship with people who are gang impacted?
Connect with people. I would say to connect with people who don't have the fear, that they can bring you in the arena to develop the relationships. Because the truth of the matter, from a gang member's mindset, that person is more of a victim than they are a threat. And so you don't have to fear a gang member unless you show fear. Gang members is kind of like the sense that our dogs have. They sense fear and they go after it, blood for blood. But gang members are not robots, they're human beings. And so you don't have to fear anyone if you come with a sense of love. If you come with a genuineness to say, I want to give. This individual is somebody's son. This is somebody's daughter. This is somebody who necessarily may have not grown up to say, I want to be a gang member. Maybe circumstances has pushed them into the lifestyle. I know many of circumstances where I ask young men, what do you want to be? What did you want to be? You ask most gang members that today, most of them say a firefighter or a police officer. How ironic, right? But the truth of the matter is most of them say, I wanted to be a cop. But circumstances and getting in trouble detour that.
What is the power of a label put on a young person?
Oh, that means everything. A label, because if a young person owns the label, they try to live up to it. So they develop their reputation off their gang name. If I'm Big Killer, then guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to be a killer. And because I have to live up to my name, I'm Big Killer. So labeling young people and calling them that, you set them on a path of trying to develop or live up to that type of reputation. But if you say, nah, man, you're a great businessman, and take that business mindset that you have and use it in a different area, it can help you do things the right way and have a productive lifestyle on the other side of the fence versus having it, behind the wall. There's a lot of, I've learned there's a lot of intelligent and great minds behind the wall in jail, in incarceration. There's a lot of brilliant men and women there, very creative, but just wasn't channeled. So yeah, label is everything.
What labels do you carry for yourself that you live into?
I don't know. I never really give it a lot of thought. I've learned to be the best me, to be the best me that I can be. I let people, I try to let people address me as they experience me. I've been called any and everything, positive side and negative side. So I just try to live and be the best me. I prefer to be remembered or to be known as a person who loves the community, who loves people, and who loves to help people. Whatever that label is, then so be it. I'm not really interested in what to be called. I'm more interested in my impact. I'm more interested in my influence. And so whatever your experience is with me, I'll know that by how you address me.
Tell me, in your years of doing this work, what's one of your best memories? Oh
man, so many I never really have to think about that. I think my best memory right now is watching young guys who have had negative influences, who've had an interaction with myself or people within my network who have now succeeded and have turned over their life. I can think of a story right now of a young man who's he was diagnosed dyslexic as a child, and he ran from it. He didn't want to own it that he was dyslexic, so he couldn't read or write, basically. He finally learned how to write, but he still really couldn't read. And he decided he wanted to, but he lived a very good life, because from the time he was 11 years old up until he was 35, he sold drugs. He had an encounter with myself and a couple of friends of mine, and he decided he no longer wanted to be a part of the gang lifestyle. He had never been around his dad. His mother passed away while he was in prison. He got released from prison the day that her service was to go and send her away for her homegoing. And he was released that day, thank God for that. But he chose he wanted to get out of the lifestyle, and he just didn't know how to do it. And so I was able to assist him in the process and watch him grow. And what was interesting with this young man is that I took him to a job, and I had some friends who were hiring, but they said, we can't just give it to him. He has to go through the process. And so he went through the process, but I didn't know up until he got the day of the interview that he couldn't read and write really well. And so I'm on the interview panel, and I have to excuse myself for this particular interview. I couldn't vote, but I can watch the interview. So then he goes into the interview, and I come out and I say, hey, it's your turn. And I grabbed his application, and there was nothing there except his name. And so I'm looking at the application, and I'm saying, what happened? And he was like, man, I didn't understand this. And in fact, I was getting ready to walk out. I was getting ready to leave the interview, but the only reason why I stayed here is because I believe in you. So long story short, he went in. I said, well, don't worry about the paper. Just come in and speak and answer the questions to the best of your ability. And he came in and he answered the questions to the best of his ability. And when he left out, the whole room was in tears. Now, he wasn't on paper to seem to be qualified for the position, but in heart, he was overqualified. So he got the job based on his communication in his heart. And he's been working in this particular job for 4 years now. He's left the gang lifestyle. He's re-engaged all of his children. He's taking care of his kids. And he's not making as much as he did when he was a drug dealer, but he's happy that he's no longer looking over his shoulders, and he's taking care of his family and making an honest living. And I think that's one of the highlights that I like to share that story, because he's so grateful today for that. People always say, well, what can I do to get involved? There are two easy ways to get involved, and I've always shared this. One is mentoring. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you live. I don't care what you do. If you have a heart for young people, and you have a heart to see someone change and transform, start mentoring them. The other piece is providing and giving your resources. You don't have to be present to send a check in. You don't have to be present to say, you know what, this organization I hear does great work, and I just want to send some money, or I'd like to meet a young person from that organization. That's the biggest intervention that's out there. So there are a number of ways to get involved, and you don't have to be afraid to do that. That's you can do that real discreetly and never have to be noticed, or you can do it in a way that would have an impact by connecting a dollar with a face. Money funds are always helpful because they allow programs to keep going. People say, well, I don't want to fund a program. But what we have to understand that programs are people. And so if you don't look at it as a program, you look at it, that's people, that's a way that you can see that your dollar counts.